And good evening and welcome to tonight's live stream. You could be watching tonight from either Instagram or Facebook. I've joined Instagram today, and this is a simultaneous live stream done through both Facebook and Instagram. So for the first time ever, I've ever done anything like this. And in fact, I might even get more clever next time and do a live stream simultaneously through Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It is possible in theory, so I might even try it next time. But in the meantime, Matt, thank you for watching. Matt's watching on Instagram and on Facebook down here. I see Phoenix and Lisa and Walter and Chris and Sheila. Thank you for joining. So yes, so first time ever, I'm doing a live stream across Instagram and Facebook simultaneously, so you can watch it on either. And the only difference is with Instagram it's portrait, and with Facebook it's landscape. So tonight is a pessimistic live stream, but it's very necessary. It's called "It's Now Too Late. We're Just Shuffling Deck Chairs on the Titanic." You'll notice I'm looking up either at the Instagram camera or I'm looking over here at the, actually I could do just like this, or I'm looking at the Facebook camera. Robert says, how are you, mate? How are you, Robert? Thank you for watching. Janine and Indy and Mary and Imran and Sheila, hello. Thank you everyone for watching. I'm definitely getting more people watching on Facebook at the moment than I am on Instagram, but I only joined Instagram today. It's got a long way to go. So although Matt on Instagram says, I gave you a shout out, bro. I saw that, Matt. Thank you for that. So, and my camera's gone a bit, hang on, let's just bring it back into focus on Facebook. Okay. So I want to get this to cooperate. Aha, there we go. That's better. That's a bit clearer. Jenny, Sid, Andrea, thank you everyone for joining. Christine. Okay. Right. So it's now too late. We're just shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. Right. Well, last week I came across a article, and pretty much it really sort of sent shockwaves through me. So I started doing a lot more research about the state that we are on this planet, and you know, quite bluntly, we're screwed. that's putting it quite bluntly. Hello, Mary and Andrea and Paolo and Tanya. So I've written a post last night, which I also reshared this morning on my Facebook page. So I wanted to talk about that on the live stream. I wanted to get your feedback, whether you think that I'm overreacting, or whether you actually think that this is the case, that we are screwed. Christine says, keen to know what you have to say about this. Well, I've been doing a bit of research on it, been doing a bit of reading on it, and basically the more that I read, the worse it is. In fact, I've ended up, I have to say, from everything that I've read in the last week, we really are screwed. It's, you know, I never know what the future is going to hold, but how the hell we're going to get out of this one, I don't know, because there is no one doing anything drastic to get us out of it straight away. So I'm going to give you some facts and figures. Imran says it's terrifying. It is. It's going to be really terrifying if you want to stick around and listen to some of these facts and figures, because it's really, really scary. So that's why I've said, it's now too late. Let me just go to what I said. I basically said, without drastic and immediate changes, the world doesn't have a hope of avoiding uncontrollable climate change in 12 years' time. That the end of civilization has begun and will start collapsing in 2030, in 12 years' time. In fact, I've lost so much hope now for the future of the planet and humanity that I doubt that I will personally see out my own natural lifespan. So that's how I feel about it. So Lachelle says, agree 100%. I'm so incredibly sad to say. So what I basically said, I just want to read this in case you haven't read this today. But basically, at the beginning of human history, we were given free will. And what did we do with that free will? We argued, we divide, we fight, we rape, we pillage, and we murder. That's just human personal free will. We are also given dominion over the planet. And what have we done? We've polluted it, we've decimated it, we've destroyed it, we've annihilated it. We are also given dominion as caretakers over the animals. And what have we done? We've enslaved them, we've commodified them, we've exploited them, we've tortured them, we've slaughtered them. And we've created an animal holocaust that is killing 8 million defenseless land animals. And this is just the land animals, 8 million per hour. Per hour. That's a holocaust. It's an unfathomable figure. And simply for our taste buds, which is just, you know, so incredibly pathetic. So Jenny says, not to sound defeatist, but I have now stopped reading any further data on this subject. It is too late. Sad doesn't even begin to describe my feeling on the terrible state of affairs. I've come to the conclusion it is too late for us, for mankind. I've come to that conclusion as well, Jenny. Matt says on Instagram, he says, yes, okay. He said, I gave you a shout out on Facebook. Anyway, we've got messages confused there, I think. So just to finish off what I said there, it doesn't matter whether you agree with what is being presented here or not, because arguing about it won't change the facts that are being presented by the IPCC and by other scientific bodies. And I've got a cat that's just appeared there. It's hopefully she doesn't knock doesn't knock anything over, you beautiful thing. We will soon be unable to live on this planet. So I no longer have any hope for humanity's survival, and nor do I believe that we deserve it, because humanity has proven to be inhumane. We are incapable of taking care of things in our possession. Our selfish greed kills everyone and everything that gets in our way. We have no idea how to live in harmony with each other, and the idea of world peace is just an unattainable joke. So the clock will be reset. We will be wiped out, and that's a good thing, because our planet can no longer handle the destruction that we've brought upon it. We will be purged, and the planet will be able to rebuild itself. I mean, we're talking over an immensely long time frame. But I cry for the innocent animals that will be affected by this. They will be left behind to suffer. And it seems that they always end up in this state, whether we're here or not. So basically, the bottom line is it's now too late. Anything we do now is simply shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. So I will tell you how this started. Yes, well, Christine says, if you really think there is no hope, is there any point still trying to save the planet? This is why it's so depressing the more I thought about it, because when I started looking at some of the facts, for instance, Christine, to answer your question, some countries of the world are trying to reduce coal use. And of course, that's not going to have much of an effect, because it's not coal use that's causing the problem. It's actually animal agriculture, which I'm going to get into talking about the statistics in a minute, and this will just scare you silly, the statistics. So some countries are, working to reduce the amount of coal. However, China is one of the countries that are actually building power stations, coal power stations, and going in the opposite direction. Not to mention Trump and the US, who doesn't seem to want to do anything to help the environment, and is also going in the opposite direction with wanting to do things up in Alaska or something that are environmentally detrimental. I can't even remember what it was, but I was just like, I read that and I just thought, well, this is no good. Let me read you something that was written in April of this year. When I started researching, what I was finding stories from a year ago, stories from 2 years ago, all saying the same thing, that basically we have to change now. And the problem is it hasn't happened. And it's not happening because we have got the major world power of the US deciding that there's no such a thing as a climate change issue. Okay, you might want to tell the IPCC that, who actually said last week, if I get the actual quote here, the IPCC has warned the world has just 12 years to avoid climate change catastrophe. Now that's the IPCC. They looked at all the statistics, they looked at all the data, and they just went, we're screwed. Basically they went, we are screwed. Lachelle says, Harry, after this, would you be so kind to share information backing up the figures So we can also share. Yes, of course. I've been sharing it on my page, but I'll share it onto this live stream as well. So the IPCC released a report last week. It's its bleakest report yet. It says, without drastic changes, the world doesn't have a hope of avoiding uncontrollable climate change. This is the IPCC saying this. We do not have a hope of avoiding uncontrollable climate change. It's like, good night, Narelle, it's all over. That's what they've said. Unless emissions are halved within 12 years and virtually eliminated by 2050, temperature increases will likely exceed 2 degrees Celsius. Now, I'm going to tell you what happens. We only have to go another 1.5 degrees Celsius from where we are now to really be up shit creek. But beyond 2 degrees, scientists predict that the temperature increases may spiral as the climate breaches a series of unique tipping points, such as the melting of the permafrost. The permafrost is already melting. And just to mention the permafrost, what is actually happening, if I bring up the thing here, that the methane warms the atmosphere 86 times faster than CO2, and it's stored in the permafrost that covers 20% of Earth's land. And because of climate change, the permafrost is now melting. So it's now releasing into the air methane at 86 times faster than CO2. That's not a good thing. When I say that's not a good thing, that's not a good thing. Andrea says some humans will survive, and that is possible. Yes, that is possible that some humans will survive. Carl says ocean acidification has caused most mass extinctions 252 million years ago, 97% of all species on Earth extinct. This mass extinction will be the worst. IPCC do not even speak of ocean acidification caused by CO2 reacting with water and forms carbonic acid and lowers pH tardigrades, and lower pH tardigrades will survive. Yeah, that's possibly correct, Carl, yes. Christine says, do you think there's any way we can get people to sit up and listen? Christine, I've lost hope. I'm sorry, but I don't know a way. I mean, maybe there is. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this live stream tonight. Maybe there's a way, but God, I don't know what it is, because when money becomes God, ethics disappear. And we have shat in our nest for so long that we've now reached a point where it's like, well, I told you so, but it's too late. So let me just go back onto some of the things that, so just we've covered what the IPCC has said. And basically, they are basically saying that we have to stop coal altogether. Can you see that happening? We've got China building coal stations, not stopping it. We have to stop it altogether. It has to drop to between 0% and 2% of existing levels. I mean, how? How the hell are we going to do that? How the hell will that even be achievable in, 12 years maximum, but way less than that to have any effect? Here's something that really scared me. This is the one that really scared me. And this was a report that came out in April this year from written information from an 86-year-old social scientist in England who has predicted a lot of things in the last 40 or 50 years. He basically said in 2 words, he said, we're doomed. He said, the outcome is death. It's the end of most life on the planet because we're so dependent on the burning of fossil fuels. There are no means of reversing the process, which is melting the polar ice caps, and very few appear to be prepared to say so. He goes on to say, I'm not going to write any more because there's nothing more that can be said. And this guy, if you actually has predicted a lot of things and has given a lot of advice over the years of how to improve situations. Matt says on Instagram, we seriously don't deserve this planet, bro. Yeah, ain't that the truth? And we're seriously not going to have it. I'm just trying to get this one back into focus because it seems to be out of focus a little bit. Anyway, megatons of methane, great. Imran says, politicians are too short-sighted and will not act, says Christine. Exactly. Imran says 50% reduction of emissions needed. Interestingly, simply stopping animals that will achieve this. That's our hope. Okay, I'm going to get into those figures shortly. But abolishing animals all animals in 12 years, oh dear. Yeah, animal agriculture, yes. Abolishing animal agriculture, that's going to be a hard one. So I'm going to shortly get into these figures of, and it's pretty scary, of the statistics. So bear with me. Mr. Hillman, the 86-year-old social scientist who has issued that dire warning, has said we've got to stop burning fossil fuels, etc. So he's going on and saying it's too late. There is actually nothing we can do. That we have now reached the point where we cannot get out of this, basically. So that one really scared me when I read that last week. Then I read an article this is from 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Arctic ice melt could trigger uncontrollable climate change at global level. 2 years ago, they were saying that, right? They've been saying it for longer than that, but that was scientists warn increasingly rapid melting could trigger polar tipping points with catastrophic consequences felt as far away as the Indian Ocean. That was 2 years ago. Last week, the IPCC has reiterated that now with their report, saying, well, it's here now. So let's get on to how, as being vegans, we might be able to do something about it to lessen the impact. Whether this can stop it, as I said earlier, I've lost hope that we can actually save the human race and that we can save the planet, that I think it will have to be reset. Permafrost and melting caps creates feedbacks, says Carl. Feedbacks is an interesting thing. You might want to expand on that, Carl. I've heard a little bit about it, but I don't know the science behind that. So, okay. A major study, now this was released just last week, finds that changes to farming are needed to avoid destroying Earth's ability to feed its population. So we're starting to see this in mainstream press, where people are starting to realise it's not just about fossil fuels, it's actually about the destruction of animal agriculture. So let's talk about animal agriculture and why, if there's any hope of doing anything, that's where the change has to happen. Here's some facts. Of the biomass of land animals on Earth, humans make up 36% of the area. Wild animals only make up 4% of the area. And livestock takes up 60% of the land mass on Earth. Livestock. That's pretty scary statistic. Elizabeth says, people will say, what is the point if there is no possibility of turnaround? People will carry on as is. Yeah, I know. That's Elizabeth. That's it. Yeah, what can I say? So in just one day, now I shared this post today, but I'm gonna, in case you didn't see this, you listen to these statistics. In just one day, in just 24 hours, we destroy 200,000 acres of rainforest. In other words, 2 acres per second. So that's 200,000 acres of rainforest were destroyed today, and again tomorrow, and again the next day. 13 million tons of toxic chemicals were released into the atmosphere. 45,000 people died of starvation just today, and again tomorrow, and again the next day. 38,000 of them were children. 130 species of plants and animals became extinct today. That's just today. And that's just in 24 hours. So tomorrow that repeats. When you start looking at these statistics, you will end up as depressed about this situation as I am. You will end up saying, how the fuck can we get out of this? I don't think we can. That's just the start of the statistics. That's just in one day, right? So if you're listening to that, you'll just go, holy shit. Andrew says, coming to a town near you, vegan doomsday preppers weekends, learn how to survive climate change. Yeah, I don't know how we do. Justin says, an example of a positive feedback is melting Arctic ice. The white ice reflects sunlight back into space, reducing the heating effect. But if the ice melts, less ice is reflected, which melts more ice, which reflects less light, and so on. Thank you for that, Justin. Thank you. That's really well explained. Christine says, the 86-year-old social scientist, can't remember his name, says something like, in a democracy, how many people will stop driving and cycle instead? That's the one, yes. His name is, let me bring it up, Maya Hillman, yes. And he says, How many will never fly again? How many will go vegan? That's right. Sorry, he did mention going vegan, and I forgot that. Sorry, he did, yes. How do we make people change? I'm doing my bit, but it does not seem enough. So what is the solution? Well, awareness is a start. Awareness is a start of how bad the situation is. That's a start. Carl says, feedback is when permafrost melts, it releases carbon and methane, causing warming, which causes more permafrost to melt, warming the planet more, which causes more permafrost to melt, a cycle feedback. And that's what we have. And that increases. A cycle feedback is like a tipping point. It increases beyond, when you get beyond a certain point. So you've just heard what happens in the destruction that happens in 24 hours, to the rain, to the chemicals released, to the starvation, people dying of not having enough food, and animals and plant species being wiped out just in one day, right? So in one, in one day, just in one day, there are almost 200 million land animals slaughtered. And I'm only talking land animals at the moment, not even talking about, I'm going to be talking about aquatic animals, but land animals. 200 million a day, which is 8 million per hour, which is 150,000 animals slaughtered per minute. So you count that up in the 20 minutes this live stream's been going, how many animals have been slaughtered because people think they taste good? It's fucking insane. And I don't mind swearing because, you know, I've been in the last week reading this stuff. I've been depressed about it. I've been angry about it. I've been despondent about it. I've been all the different emotions. They've been there. That's not count. So those figures, 200 million land animals killed per day, that's not including the trillions of aquatic animals killed per year, which they measure in tons of 80 million tons per year, or tons per year. Depending whether you're going metric or non-metric. So now get this, 3/4 of the world's fisheries are exploited. The ocean will be fished out within the next 2 decades. And for every 1 kilogram of fish caught, 5 kilograms are discarded as bykill. So, you know, that alone, it's sickening that they're catching fish. And then they're throwing 5 times the amount back as bykill, basically, or discarding it in some way. Imran said, if there is technically no chance of recovery, we still have a moral responsibility to try. True, Imran. We do have a moral responsibility. That is true. Thank you. We can get all the combined, yes, the combined statistics. A lot of this stuff I've got from Cowspiracy, not all of it. I've got it from different sources and I've combined it together. But yes, a lot of it is from Cowspiracy, which then they have their statistics from there. Plus I've added in statistics from other sources as well. Christine says, Elizabeth Mayer-Hellman feels that thinking there is no hope will make people do all they can not to make things worse. He claims, like a cancer patient who learns they are terminally ill, they will do everything they can to survive. I'm not sure I feel the same way. Yeah, yeah, I'm not convinced. Basically, seeing the way that people, when I say people, you know, I'm generalizing, seeing the way that the average person doesn't really care as long as they can have their next piece of flesh, seeing how the average person, you know, lives their life, yeah, doesn't give me a lot of hope. I like to be optimistic, but really in this last week, I've just like, no, I can't look at these figures and be optimistic anymore. I'm kidding myself. Matt on Instagram says livestock is the word I hate, just to clarify that. Yes, yeah. Okay, so animal agriculture is the leading cause of species extinction. I think we've worked that one out. Ocean dead zones, water pollution, and habitat destruction. How about the fact that animal agriculture causes 91% of the Amazonian destruction, or the Amazon destruction, however you pronounce it. 91%. So basically almost the entire Amazon destruction is because of animal agriculture. So how inefficient and destructive and environmentally destructive is animal use? Well, to feed a meat eater, you need 18 times more land than a vegan. 18 times more land. Multiply that by Earth's population, the majority of which are meat eaters, and it's astounding. Now, global greenhouse emissions, this is really interesting. 13% are caused by transport. 51% are caused by livestock. 51% of global greenhouse emissions. And what do people do about it? Instead of saying, shit, we need to do something about it, they just argue about it and go, oh, no, we need to, the US government, oh, no, we need to study this further. 2 years ago, or a year ago, whatever, when I was reading it, they were saying, no, we need to do more study into this. Fucking hell, how much study do you want to do? You'll be standing on a burnt cinder and going, yeah, geez, yeah, we've got a problem here. All because they don't want to bloody give up the vested interest and the money. It's like, how fucking dumb is it to shit in your own nest? I mean, how fucking dumb is it? It's as dumb as you can get. And that's what we're seeing. So don't come to me and say, oh, yeah, that Trump, he's a good bloke, because you can just get off my feed. Seriously. Anyone that just, removes the protocols that were put in place to try and help, Jesus, don't get me going on that one. So livestock causes 65% of nitrogen NO2 emissions, nitrous oxide emissions. I'll just finish up with a few more of these statistics. It's a lot to take in, but basically the meat and dairy industry uses a third of the world's fresh water. It uses a third of it. And in the US, only 5% of water is used in domestic use. 55% is animal agriculture. Jeez. And, one meat hamburger uses 3,000 litres of water, which is equivalent to 2 months of showering. One hamburger. Holy shit. And then a couple of other things that I got there that says the waste. Waste is another thing. If you have a dairy cow farm with 2,500 cows on it, it's equivalent to the waste of a city of 400,000 people. And every minute in the US, 3.2 million kilograms of shit is produced by animal agriculture. And then also I saw something else today, the last statistic, because the statistics are really hard to you need to see them rather than hear them. The last statistic is 40% of food is thrown away. Hey, let's take the 45,000 people that died of starvation today. They might have liked that 40% of food that was thrown away. You see what I mean about losing hope? Really, the more you look at this, you just go, holy shit. It's been bad enough to know for years how animals are treated, but to see what the end result has done to the planet and to the future and what it is doing for the future of humanity, for us in our lifetime, and for children that are coming onto the planet now, it's just, I don't have the adjectives to describe it. I started to write about this and I got so depressed, and it took me days to try and put it into words. I just felt so despondent. I was just like, shit, I mean, I'll read some comments here. Justin says, I don't know if there is a solution. Problems have solutions, predicaments don't. And it appears we are facing a predicament because the amount of change required is so huge, and the inertia in the wrong direction is so great. Industrial civilization itself is the cause of all these issues, from overpopulation to climate change, deforestation and pollution. Well said, Justin, and yeah, really depressing. Elizabeth says, most people don't care. In fact, they think we're a joke. My experience anyway. I am from South Africa. This is the thing. This is knowing that people don't care, that you would tell them all this, and then a minute later they're thinking, where am I going to get my next meal? My next animal flesh meal, It's like, where are you going to have somewhere to live soon, you dimwit? It's just, there's a point where I can't be, where my tolerance, let's put it this way, my tolerance for this after seeing all this information is very, very minimal. It's just, Christine says, do you think that behavior of the average person is due to ignorance? It's a good question, Christine. There's a thing about awareness. I can't blame someone if they're not aware. But if you are given information, with awareness comes responsibility. If you're given information and then you choose to not act on it, then you are complicit in it. And then that is no longer ignorance. That is your choice, your decision to go against doing something that could help and to continue following the status quo. So then I'm sorry, but I just don't have respect for anyone that acts that way. Imran says, see, I'll jump back in later. Need to go and feel devastated, demoralized, destroyed. Yes, I'm hearing you. Christine, yeah, too much talk, too little action. Yes, that's true, Christine. Elizabeth said, I'm dedicating the rest of my life to bringing awareness to people. It is so important. Capitalism is the only and main problem. Good on you, Elizabeth. And Christine says, that's like immediately throwing 2 out of every 5 bags of shopping straight in the bin with the 40% of food thrown away. Yeah, it's just incredible, isn't it? There is a video. I saw it today. I don't think I shared it, but it was just insane. But it followed another video that just showed oceans absolutely solid covered with pollution on the top, just absolutely solidly covered with pollution. And I looked at it and I thought, and it was actually like the ocean was near the seashore and the waves, you know, the pollution was going through the waves, but it was just like you could walk on it. It was so thick with pollution. And I've seen this from many different parts of the world now. I've seen photos taken at different beaches that were tourist resorts that cannot be used as tourist resorts now because the pollution is so horrendous that the water and the sand is just, it's sickening. You know, the photos of the people, tourists have gone there and taken photos of these beaches that were maybe 10 to 20 years ago were maybe beautiful. Some of them, they showed some of the photos of how these tourist resorts used to be. And it's just, man, it's literally, you know, shitting in our nest with this pollution. It's just, so Justin says, I think a lot of people just can't accept that the worst is possible. This is in part due to something called normalcy bias. The normalcy bias or normality bias is a belief people hold when facing a disaster. It causes people to underestimate both the likelihood of a disaster and its possible effects, because people believe that things will always function the way things normally have functioned. Yes, I can understand that thinking. Carl says, ocean acidification dissolves calcium carbonate life forms that will include phytoplankton, which produces oxygen. NASA says sixth mass extinction happening. Well, it is. Yes, it is happening. We're losing 130 species of plants and animals per day that are becoming extinct per day. How many is there? Well, if you're losing 130 a day, you're rapidly getting rid of them. We're talking living beings, plants and animals. You know, just and Matt says on Instagram, he says, as the saying goes, it's difficult for a man to understand something when his salary depends on him not understanding. Exactly, Matt. Christine says, it's heartbreaking how we are destroying the beauty of the planet and all the animals on it. It is. It's so heartbreaking. It's ridiculous. So do I have any suggestions? I really go back to what I was saying, and this is how I feel at the moment, and maybe there will be some light at the end of the tunnel to change the way that I'm feeling, but basically I feel that it is too late, that without drastic and immediate changes, mind you, the world doesn't have a hope. And, you know, when we looked at, what's his name, Mayer Hillman, when he wrote that that we have to, what did he write? He said we're doomed, that we have to make an immediate change. He wrote, that was in, I read it and I thought that was actually in April of this year, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So 6 months ago, he said that. And 6 months later, you know, we've still got some really intelligent, and I say intelligent as sarcastically as I can, people in the world that want to argue it. You know, it's like, okay, keep on arguing it. I'll just go and dig the hole to bury you in, because, you know, what is the point of arguing it? We don't have a planet B to go to. You have to pull your finger out of your ass and do something about it. You can't keep arguing and go, oh, we need to do, you know. So I'm blaming the US government for that one. You know, we need to do something. We need to check. We need to, you know, we just, oh, yeah. We're just, you guys especially, the US government, are just shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic. You know, it's like, oh, well, we don't want to, we don't actually do anything because, you know, that might affect the money coming in that we get, you know. Yeah, Jesus. So Christine says, how are you personally going to cope? That's a good question, Christine, because in the last week, I've coped by taking, I'm going to be quite serious, I've coped by taking antidepressants, if you want to know, for several reasons, not just because of this is for personal reasons as well, but that's actually what I've been doing, sleeping a lot and taking antidepressants. I'm not at work at the moment because I'm still, my fractured ankle is still healing, but I don't know, I'm not looking forward to the future at all. Yeah, John says most people are brainwashed. They think the government is taking care of everything. Sorry, sorry, John. Oh yeah, I know. I know. I can't. Yeah, scary, isn't it? That anyone could think that. But the government is a big part of the problem. Oh yeah, we can feel your pain, Harry. It's palpable. I get frustrated and upset seeing what we are doing to the planet and animals. You are not alone in this. Yes, there is a mass extinction happening right under our nose. And as I think you might have posted on my page earlier today, John, that you believe that it started happening back in the 1930s. I think that was you that wrote that. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's when the change started happening. And Justin says, imagine the billions of people in developing countries all wanting a Western lifestyle, animal products, cars, flying all over on holidays. How could we possibly turn that around? Exactly. And in a short period of time, the lifestyle changes and effort would be enormous. This is it. I see it as an unattainable goal. I see that there is actually no hope for humanity, that we're basically got to assume crash positions. We're going to crash, and you know, in an aircraft, you know, it's like put your head between your knees, sort of thing. That we are going to have to assume crash positions, and yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer. I just wanted to tonight. I don't want to keep this live stream rambling on too long. I wanted to share that information, those statistics, and my very, very strong feelings on this, and use it as an opportunity to do my first Instagram live stream as well. But I don't have an answer. You can do what I've done. You can look at the statistics. Certainly if you start looking at the statistics on cowspiracy, that'll be enough just to depress you. And then just maybe Google climate change. I'll share the links and stuff here on this live stream when I finish as well. But you can just start reading about it like I've been doing. And the more you read, the more disheartening it is. And the fact that it is now coming up in mainstream media is, yeah, it's just, it's as a complete aside, my cat was sitting on my scanner and has managed to just turn it on. She jumped off it. That's a complete aside to what I'm saying. And it's actually telling me on the computer that it's warming up. It's classic. So if you hear a noise over here, it's the scanner setting itself up. But yeah, I don't have any answers. If I had answers, I would give them. But I do agree with what someone said earlier there, that that we still have to do the right thing. We should always live in alignment with our morals and with kindness and compassion, with the principles of ahimsa. So we should always do that, of course. So, and treat everyone with the love and respect that we wish for ourselves. That always applies. And in a situation like this, we just try and be aware. You know, awareness has a lot of power. So we can read about this, we can look at the reports, we can be as aware of this as we are aware of what is happening to the animals, because, you know, we focus a lot of attention on what's happening to the animals, how they're treated, how to help them. But this is a situation where it includes that and goes beyond that as well, in a way, because we're looking at how to help everything, how to help the planet and humanity. So look at the facts and the figures and the statistics. Keep an eye on your news feed. I automatically get stuff coming up on my news feed about this sort of thing, because that's, you know, the algorithm that sort of knows what you're looking for. And just reading a few comments before I sign out for tonight. Go off the grid, become self-sufficient. Andrea says, yes. Actually, I just want to, on that comment, Andrea, about going off the grid, I started running some projections through my head about, you know, so what happens when we get to the point where we are so much running out of land and food that people start, you know, we get like a doomsday scenario happening. And I thought this could get really pretty bad. where we're basically trying to defend the food on our land and trying to defend, you know, ourselves against marauders that are wanting to take it. It could get pretty bad. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but maybe in 10 years' time, or so, or, you know, maybe something like that. Matt says, YouTube Earthling Ed's speech, he talks about this a bit. Oh, okay. I'll have to check that one out. Thank you, Matt. That was a comment on Instagram. John says, people are rushing to get a front row seat while the plane is going down. Christine says, all this makes me uncomfortable when I hear about a friend's latest overseas holiday, the birth of a colleague's 5th child, a neighbour's weekend barbecue. Yeah. I'm really glad I didn't have kids, and I really feel for those that are coming into the world, and for the young now, for the young that are already around. Man, what a legacy we've left them. It's just shit. Justin says, I think there are things we could have done 50 years ago but didn't, and we are still doing many of those things. It's tragic to think we could have done something but won't or don't want to. It is so tragic. And the little hints that have been popping up, which when you start looking for them, you'll see the little hints that have been popping up, you know, really for decades. And now they're becoming mainstream news articles saying, hey, we've got 12 years left. And, you know, and you start reading this, you go, holy shit, you know. I was telling someone, I had a business meeting this afternoon, and I was telling somebody about this, and he brought up a point, which I don't think he was discrediting it, but he said, oh, do you remember in the 70s when they said, oh, you know, we're going to run out of oil, you know, and there was the oil crisis. And I said, yeah, actually, I said, I was a kid, I remember it really well. You know, and that didn't happen. So I don't know, you know, he's sort of like, so how do we know it's going to happen? Maybe that's what he was thinking. Yana says, the more research you do about climate change, the further down the rabbit hole you go. Yes. Justin says, yes, we shouldn't just party because it's the end. Let's go out with some dignity, or some of us at least. And yeah, so, okay, Julie says, thanks, Harry Bowman. Oh, there's new comments down there. Sorry, I'll get these now. Things will get bad. Your comment about this is very pertinent. Getting off the grid is really difficult, takes a lot of money, ironically. Yeah, and besides, we really do depend on each other. It's hard to do it alone. And for what? So someone can come and steal your food when the shit hits the fan. And that's what I was saying. That is, you know, once it gets to that point where it's so out of control, yeah, you're not going to want to be here. You're really not going to want to be putting up with the way society is going to be, because it's going to be, you know, any sense of stability in society, yeah, it's just not going to be there. And ironically, Hollywood has been feeding us movies like this for who knows how long. You know, there's all the apocalyptic type movies, and I've sort of laughed at them, or just thought how stupid. Like, they don't appeal to me, those sort of movies. And then today that sort of popped into my head. I was like, yeah, is this actually what we're going to be looking at? So, John says, we have seen this coming for decades. And Yana says, there'll be nowhere to hide. And yeah, that's right. So, okay, so I'll wind this up. Thank you, everyone. It went longer than I thought it would. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And I will share links on this live stream, and I'll see if I can figure out how to post them on Facebook too. On Instagram too, on my first ever Instagram live. So thank you for the one person that watched it on Instagram. That wasn't a big audience. Now, tomorrow night, on a more positive note, whilst the world is still here and humanity has still got food, the vegan hour is on tomorrow night, and my guest tomorrow night is Cara May Kelly, the Animal Justice Party Senate candidate. I'm looking forward very much to talking to Cara May tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. on the Vegan Hour for episode 21, I think we are. Yeah, so join us then. In the meantime, still keep treating everyone with love and respect. And if I come up with any ideas on how the hell that we can get out of this shit, I'll post them on my page. Live vegan and save lives. And I will speak to you soon. Ahimsa.